Okay, I had to take care of something, but we're back again. So, let's go ahead and talk about all that just went down with Sony's PlayStation E3 conference. Now, we've seen a whole bunch of games that we've seen already, like Destiny 2, that's obvious. We've seen some new gameplay and some new cinematics and some new story coming from God of War. We see some new gameplay of Days Gone, which has Sam Witwer. I didn't even know that was him at the beginning until I started looking at his face and I started recognizing like no one's face of a famous person is that detailed. So there's that. And after looking at all I want to talk about all the major things that happened in this so we can get down to the nitty-gritty of well, basically Spider-Man at the end, because I was literally waiting on that, and now that they shown it, it was everything I was hoping it would be. And the one major gripe that I had about it was the swinging, because ever since Spider-Man 2 from the PlayStation 2 days, and I believe Spider-Man 2 was released in early 2003, 2004. I may have to relook at the dates of that, but Spider-Man 2 for the PS2 was one of my favorite superhero games to play. Like, just swinging around. You could spend countless hours just swinging around the city, just doing nothing. You could stop crying if you wanted. Of course, getting that little kid's balloon got annoying after a while, but you could just swing around the city as much as you wanted. And it was amazing. And now, looking at Spider-Man and it's just titled Spider-Man, which means they could add on whatever they want to this. And just watching it, I'm just thinking, wow, I cannot wait to play this. Like, the way that they handled Spidey, the way they handled him in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, no. 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 Spidey wasn't ready. But no. The way they handled him on the PS4 at the end of this conference, actually, before Spider-Man even showed up, they made it look like they wasn't going to show anything for Spider-Man at all. Like, the dude walked back out on the stage and he started thanking everybody for coming, and I was thinking, dude, no, you are not going to end this like with just, sure, God of War was like the last thing that they showed, and then Phil started walking out on the front. I think his name's Phil. But he started walking out on the stage, and I'm thinking, no, there is no way that this is the end of this conference so soon. Like, it's an hour long. That's actually longer than Bethesda's. Bethesda's was surprisingly short. Like, I was expecting more from them, but they just kept it short with things that we already know. But, Sony tricked me. They had the dude come out and says, well, thank y'all for coming, but let's give you one last thing. And then I see the city of New York, and I see like a being built in progress Fisk Tower because of the Wilson Fisk, who's the Kingpin in Marvel Comics. They just show Spidey on the side of the wall, and then they show the gameplay. It is just seamless transition from cinematic to actual gameplay, which I thought was really well done. And unlike The Amazing Spider-Man 2, everything just seemed Insomniac looked like they actually took their time making everything seem incredibly natural to Spider-Man as far as gameplay and contextual actions and the way his movements are. Like, literally when he's dodging bullets, he's twirling his body in ways that no regular person can do it, but only Spider-Man can. And sure, he's flipping over dudes, but he's not doing it in the sort of handheldy, simplistic way that Amazing Spider-Man 2 did. Pardon me. But the way the fighting, it looked better. Like, it looked natural, it looked fluid. And this is just me. I might just change I might just change this to a Spider-Man PS4 E3 review because I'm talking more about Spider-Man than anything else from the Sony conference. We got to see a remastered made for PS4 version of Shadow of the Colossus, which is a phenomenal game, by the way. I haven't finished it yet. I only took down at least 3 Colossi so far, but that was maybe about a year ago, and I haven't played it since. But we got like an HD PS4 remake of Shadow of the Colossus. We got to see God of War again, and he's in the world of like Norse mythology, you know, like Thor and Loki and Odin, all the people that you see in Marvel movies. Yeah, he's in their world now. So expect a lot of people to die. So, and there's just so much from this press conference. Marvel versus Capcom. Oh, it's just crazy. Then you got something called Detroit Become Human or Becoming Human or something like that. And I think they had like a I want to say tech demo of that earlier this year, or maybe it was last year, but I wouldn't call it a tech demo, but it was like more so a cinematic of how natural they could get human emotions on like a 3D character. But yeah, there's God of War, Detroit Become Human, Moss, Bravo Team, and most of these beforehand are all VR games, but I really wanted to get down to the nitty gritty of it. Then they had Uncharted, the Uncharted 4 standalone story with Chloe and that other chick. I don't know what her name is. Then we have wow. I could go back and look at that gameplay of Spider-Man all over again. And then that teaser at the end of the demo where we see Miles Morales. So, is this in the Ultimate Universe? Or is this like a different type of Spider-Man where Miles Morales and mainstream Spider-Man are in the same universe? I wouldn't even count this as mainstream Spider-Man because his suit is completely different from what we're used to. Like, he's got white spider symbols and white glove tips and everything all over him. Plus, he has like the telescopic lens eyes that we've seen in Civil War. He's got that going on. And it's not just him, I like it so much that they don't make it like comic book Spider-Man where his lenses just move with his eyes and it's not like telescopic and it moves in. Like the way we see emotion in his eyes, like we seen Deadpool and emotion in his eyes in the movie. So I thought that was cool. Like when he squints, the lenses just get really, really narrow and they get widened up when surprising things happen. I just thought that was really amazing how they did that. Then they got to the swinging. Yes, it looks momentum based, physics and momentum based, because the way they did it in Spider-Man 2 is the amount of speed you're going is what carries you during your swing. So if you move slow and you try to swing, then your swing would be slow. But if you move fast, like if you do like a charge long jump and then start swinging from there, then your swings would be fast, and how you move, depending on whether you release it at the bottom of your jump or the top of your jump, or like bottom of your swing or top of your swing, would determine how fast you would move. It looks like Insomniac is taking that same initiative and doing that for Spider-Man for the PS4. Because from the way it looked, like your webbing sticks to buildings, so it's not up in the air, just sticking there. I don't know who thought that was a good idea for the Amazing Spider-Man 1, but you should be fired. But Insomniac looks like they've... I would like to hope at least one of them looked at some of the comments that I've posted, or dozens upon hundreds of people have posted, based on the fact that Spider-Man's swinging was not up to par in the past few open world Spider-Man games. Like, Spider-Man 2 stands as the standalone game, at least until Spider-Man PS4 comes out, as the standalone game that set the bar for how a Spider-Man game should be. Sure, there have been Spider-Man games that have been doing well with gameplay mechanics and sometimes even stories, not counting the movie games, because Spider-Man 2 was okay at best with the story. Spider-Man 3 just dropped the bar completely. I'm not going to lie. I didn't think the swinging was very good because I thought that it was just holding me back when I saw the swinging in 3. And I've played 3 for both the PS2 and PS3. So I've tried out that swinging. The swinging in Spider-Man 3, it just felt it felt when I swung, it didn't feel as loose as the one in Spider-Man 2 did. Cuz when you swung around in Spider-Man 2, like I said before, however speed you were going at when you started swinging is what carried your swing and your swinging speed. Whereas in Spider-Man 2, you could easily just jump off the top of a building and skydive all the way down to the bottom ground of Manhattan and then try and swing, but then your swing wouldn't be as fast as the speed that you fell at to compensate. So that's something that sort of stood out for me for Spider-Man 2. And then there were other Spider-Man games that came out after that. Web of Shadows that came out. That was cool. It was a very good representation of how to make a comic booky Spider-Man movements. Like fighting guys, then throwing them in a wall, and then fighting alongside the wall, and then fighting them in the air and doing all these weird flips. That's classic. That's like classic Spider-Man, comic book Spider-Man movements. Like only movements that you could basically get if you were to read it in a comic. So Web of Shadows did good there. Story, it was okay. One thing that put me off from the game was you couldn't swing around the city after the story was done. You had to start a new game and then had to swing there and avoid the last final mission in order to fully enjoy it. So that I never finished it, and that's sort of what kept me from finishing it, because I don't want to play an open world game of Spider-Man and then at the end of the story you tell me that I can't swing around anymore and I got to start a new game. I don't like that at all. So I didn't finish that. Then you got Shattered Dimensions. Shattered Dimensions was really good, especially with its take on different Spider-Man. Spider-Man 2099, Spider-Man Noir, Ultimate Spider-Man, and Amazing Spider-Man with Neil Patrick Harris, Josh Keaton, I forget his name, and I forget the other guy's name. They did really well with the way that they set that up. Spider-Man Noir was stealth-based. Spider-Man 2099 was like futuristic and had all this, like, it had like the high-tech end of like gameplay mechanics. Ultimate Spider-Man had like the power of the black suit, and the Amazing Spider-Man had like the classic Spider-Man gameplay. And then there were some other games that came out. We had the Amazing Spider-Man and the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Yawn. I didn't play them, and I will never play them. I mean, the developers, no disrespect, but that is not how you do a good Spider-Man game. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people like it. That's okay. You can like it. I don't. At all. Because it's a movie game. It's a movie superhero game, and not that many movie superhero games live up to their potential. I think X-Men Origins and Spider-Man 2 are pretty much the only superhero movie games that actually let you do what the character does. And although the story may not be as good as the overall character gameplay, the game lets you be the person that the game is titled after. Like X-Men Origins Wolverine, you were literally Wolverine. You were cutting dudes in half, beheading dudes, cutting limbs off, like being all out Wolverine and brutal. And Spider-Man 2, it needs no explanation. Everyone knows what that is. So the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, they really lost it for me. Amazing Spider-Man 1, like, seriously, it's like they cut corners in that game. let's make it so, well, trying to get it so that we can swing off of buildings is just too much work. So let's make it as simplistic as possible and just let people swing wherever they want. Want to swing over Central Park where there's clearly no buildings for you? Good. There's some clouds up there that your webs can attach to, and you can swing around the city from there. And then we have Amazing Spider-Man 2 that did its best to improve on what Amazing Spider-Man 1 did as far as gameplay was concerned, but they still dropped the bar. One of the things that they tried still unsuccessfully a little bit, was they allowed their webbing to attach to walls. Now that's all well and good, but it still felt a little bit handheldy for me when I saw gameplay of it. Like, sure, you can swing on walls, but it just feels like the speed that you swung from was always constant. It was never based on how fast you were going. The speed was always the same swing speed. Once you started swinging, you swung at that same speed for the entirety of your swing. And that just lost it for me, because that was nothing like Spider-Man 2. But one of the things that they did improve on was, well, I'm not going to say story. The movements that they had for Spider-Man, like when he was talking. Hold on, I'll show you. When they had Spider-Man talking, hey EGK, welcome back. I'm having a discussion about the Sony press conference, but I'm mainly talking about Spider-Man right now. But when people played Spider-Man 2, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, it's like that. Like when it came to a cinematic, people were always moving. Like they were always doing like these weird hand gestures and doing very odd motions. Like when they were talking, like look at one of the cinematics for when Spider-Man is talking to one of the goons. Look at one of the cinematics where Spider-Man is talking to one of the goons as he's trying to find his uncle's killer for the 15th time in existence. I don't understand why they showed Spider-Man last as well. I mean, I maybe they thought that it was gonna carry that whole ending for the conference. Now I appreciate that they showed it, but I didn't like how they ended it with just Spider-Man. Like, they could have showed something else entirely. They could have showed a Spider-Man, then God of War, or something else like that. Or maybe they could have gone out on it. I don't know what they could have done at the end of that, but showing Spider-Man at the end was a bit bittersweet. I'm going to say that. It was a bit bittersweet. But back to Amazing Spider-Man 2, the way they did like the cinematics and the movements is like, do they think people move like that? Like I said, look at the cinematic where Spider-Man's talking to the goon so he can find his uncle's killer, and he's looking, and the guy is literally upside down, stuck to a wall, and Spider-Man's just moving, bobbing and weaving back and forth. Like, Spider-Man don't move that much. Like, they made Spider-Man move around and look like he got ADHD, like he can't stand still at all. So that was one thing that threw me off. Like, you don't need to have... We already know people are here. You don't need to have them constantly move to keep our attention. We're not kids. We don't need to have something constantly moving in our face for you to hold our attention. Like, I was just looking at that, like, this is just way too much animation going on right now. You could just have them slowly walking back and forth. Yeah, it was rushed to come out with the movie, and that's the thing. Stop making movie games. Just stop. Just stop. I'm just saying, like, when was the last good movie game that we got? Tell me. But I will say this though, Spider-Man, Injustice 2. Recently, Injustice does not count as a superhero movie game. I mean, in recent years, Spider-Man 2 is like one of the very few good movie games in recent years, EGK. Yeah. But superhero games based off of movies. I have one in mind that fills me with rage to this very day, and my friends already know this, but I'm not going to say it because they're going to clown me on it later. But I played that game. The final boss for that game was... I'm going to say it. The final boss for that game was a tornado. Try and guess what this superhero game was. The final boss was a tornado. I'll wait. Give guesses. Guess if you like. Go ahead. Be my guest and guess. I'll go ahead and tell you. Superman Returns. EGK got it. EGK got it. Like, when the only good thing of your Superman game is the flying, not his powers, not his abilities, just flying. Like, he could even move at super speed and run at super speed. None of that is useful. There is absolutely, like, literally, why there's so many things wrong with that game. It was like the Superman 64 for consoles. Whew. It was just horrible. But, I'm getting really off topic here, but superhero games based off of movies normally don't do that well. So that's why I'm hopeful for this Spider-Man game. Like, they kept the web zip. That's okay. I don't mind that at all. Because that same thing was in Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, and that worked really well. But I like the way that they have contextual actions for, like, cinematic contextual actions. And there's even moments where he goes in slow motion to do certain moves, which he didn't even do in Amazing Spider-Man 1 or 2. Yeah, they went completely crazy. Like, when you make a mini game... when the only collectibles in the game of Superman is to collect 100 hidden kittens, and the only way you can find them is if you get close to one and you can hear its quiet meowing and slight vibration of your controller, then yeah, you've done something incredibly wrong. But I like how they've mixed both cinematic cutscenes and like interactive cutscenes along with actual gameplay. Like, it's very tricky to tell the actual gameplay between actual cinematics in the showcase that we just seen. And like, I just think it looks really good. Like, this gives me hope for superhero games. Like, I know Marvel said that they wanted to make more games, but if this Spider-Man game does really well, then that's a step in the right direction for Marvel. Because the last good Marvel game that we've had, not counting the Marvel Heroes Omega that we've recently had for consoles that they've just released, but like games like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, like games like that, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I'm not much of a fighting game fan. I mean, I played Marvel vs. Capcom for a little bit, but I just can't get in. I just can't get into it. I'm not as skilled as all these pros out there. Or, I mean, I've tried it for a little bit, but I've thought it was okay for me at best. But I'm into action. I'm into open world exploration. I'm into getting down into the nitty gritty of the game and being like straight up and front and center with everything. So, but I'm very hopeful for this Spider-Man game. I really am. Like, nothing stood out to me so far that says, well, that kind of looks bad. They should probably improve on that. No. It's been over a decade since we had a good open world Spider-Man game. Well, from what they just showed us, we probably won't have long to wait for a good Spider-Man game. I mean, just the fact that this isn't tied to any media of any sort except for this comic source material means that they can pretty much do whatever they want. They are not bound by licensing issues of movies, or they don't have to rush to put it out in time for a movie. They can do so much with this, and it gets released next year in 2018. They can take as much time as they want, polish everything, include little Easter eggs and tidbits and unlockables and whatever they feel is necessary to make this the essential, the quintessential Spider-Man game for us. That's not much more I can say. And it's actually starting to get late, so I probably should be quieting it down because this is the time where my family starts to go to sleep, and I don't want to keep them up with me going on too long. But this, overall, my review for the Sony press conference, they could have shown more. I was actually hoping for a Bloodborne 2 of some kind. I mean, as far-fetched as that seems, Bloodborne is a game worthy of a sequel. And I was sort of hoping that we would see something like that. I was actually sort of hoping that we would see some The Last of Us Part 2. I was actually thinking that they were going to show something because it's like synonymous with Sony now and PlayStation now. But overall, I thought this was kind of good Sony press conference. I mean, they could have done a little bit better. They could have done more. Oh, right. We didn't even see any of that Dissidia Final Fantasy. Because we're getting that. They're calling it Dissidia Final Fantasy NT. But they actually didn't show that. Like, we've only seen, like, open gameplay of it out on YouTube and other gaming sites like IGN and GameSpot. So I'm surprised. I'm actually kind of surprised that we actually didn't see that this time. What else was there? Yeah, that's I would kind of give that. I agree with you, Equalate Gem. And sorry I haven't said your name beforehand, but I want to give credit where credit is due. You give this a C minus. Yeah, I would kind of give it a C because of God of War and Spider-Man. And I'm not too hung up on that Detroit Becoming Human or Become Human game. It looks alright to me, but it's not my cup of tea, so I wouldn't put it up there in that same line as God of War or Spider-Man. But what makes it like just a regular C and not a C minus is due to the fact that we actually got to see more of Spider-Man. Like, all we seen of Spider-Man was just that little trailer from, what was it, a year ago, 2 years ago? And now we actually had full-on gameplay, stealth gameplay, combat gameplay, swinging gameplay, and interactive cinematics in like a classic Marvel style. So that's why I gave it a C. They could have actually shown more. Yeah, a year ago. They could have actually shown more, but I feel like they're sort of holding out because they want to give a little bit more information later down the line, like bits and pieces at a time. Like, they got us drawn in with the presentation and the press conference, so they have our attention. We're hyped now because of it. Like, there's a lot of games in there that had me hype. I think there was one in here that had me extremely hype, like the moment it started. I'm trying to find out what that was. Where are you? Spider-Man, God of War, Days Gone. Days Gone, there was a picture of New York at night. Yeah, the game mechanically looked good. Don't know about story. Are you talking about the Spider-Man game? Because mechanically, yeah, the game looks good mechanically. And, like, game mechanically, it looks good. So we'll have to see just what type of story this is going to have. Because if the story is kind of subpar, that might detract a little bit from it. But it could be a standalone story since it's not linked to any movies. So they could possibly do this any kind of way. And if they do it in the same way that Batman has done his Arkham games, then we could actually have like an actual good Spider-Man story and game all in one. So that's just me. I'm trying to look back at the first game that got showcased. Because the first game that got showcased actually had me extremely hype. It had, oh yes, Monster, the villain The villain, Mr. Navigate. Do you mean negative? Mr. Negative? But now I remember what that first game was that I seen. No, that's Days Gone. Monster Hunter World. Whoa, I did not expect that. But actually, I kind of did because yeah, Mr. Negative. You're fine. Don't worry about the typo. I know what you meant. Sorry if I sounded rude by correcting you. But Monster Hunter World. I've played Monster Hunter 4 and Monster Hunter Generations. This is our first next-gen Monster Hunter game that we're getting for consoles. Like, legit a Monster Hunter game for PS4. Like, built for PS4. It's not being ported. It's being put and created for the PS4 for its power and abilities. Yeah. When you start out, yeah, that was sort of me when I started playing Monster Hunter and I had to get good at it just a little bit more, learn how to be patient and not try and rush and hit them all the time. Because Monster Hunter is not a game where you just run in and hit them a whole bunch of times, not unless you have daggers. Daggers help. What was that first game? What was the first game that they showed? There's Days Gone, there's Horizons DLC, the Frozen Wilds. Then there's that first game. That was the Uncharted. It was the Uncharted standalone expansion. But you got Monster Hunter World, Shadow of the Colossus PS4 remake. Like they've remade the entire game for PS4. Like nothing looks like it did on the PS2 era. You got Marvel vs. Capcom. You got Call of Duty World War II. My dad's gonna like that. Uncharted Legacy. Yes, that's the name. I forgot the name of it. Thank you, UGK. But Call of Duty World War II, my dad's gonna like that because he loved World at War, and I know he's gonna love this one too. Then we got some VR games, Skyrim VR. I don't care about. Me personally, I don't care about VR. And then it descends into God of War. How many Norse gods is he gonna kill this time? Here's one thing that got me. Like, he throws his axe into the water, and then the infamous Norse world serpent comes out of the water, spits his axe back out at him, and says, "Hey, I want to help you." Not a lot of people say that to Kratos and live to tell about it at the end. So I don't know I don't know how long he's going to live. I give it 2, 3, maybe 5 missions tops. Because whoever helps Kratos ends up dying. I mean, everybody who's helped Kratos has died. So the World Serpent is probably not going to be around for very long. Never owned a PlayStation, so I never played an exclusive. Well, here's my opinion on PlayStation. I've played it my entire life. Well, at least as long as I could actively hold and understand video games and actually play them. Started out PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation Portable. I still, to this day, own that limited edition blue Madden PSP. Like, it was bought for my birthday, and to this day, I still have it. It still works, it's just that I haven't charged it in over 6 years. So it's been a while since I last played it, but PlayStation Portable, I never played the Vita. I was never into touch-type games. So I sort of never really messed with the Vita at all. Then I went straight to PS4 after. Did I say PS3? Yeah, I said PS3. I went straight to PS4 after this. Like, I bought my own PS4. First game I played was like Killzone. Killzone Shadow something. Killzone It was Killzone Shadow something. I forget the name, but I'll have to look at my trophy list. Played that, and me personally, I love PlayStation. I really do. I don't love it in the way that, hey, I love anything PlayStation does, because they've made Shadowfall. Thank you. Yeah, PlayStation does have good games. Now, here's my stance on it, and I've said this already in one of my past streams. I think I did this at the EA stream that I've done. I don't go alongside the whole, hey, PlayStation's better, Xbox is better. They both have pros and cons. So no one console is better than the other. So, yes, PlayStation has its gains, but it also has its stinkers too. Looking at you, No Man's Sky. And Xbox has some good games, and it has some stinkers as well. As soon as I can think of some, I will say them. But they do have some. But they're both equally good in their own right. So I'm actually thinking about getting an Xbox myself, duly because my sister is a big zombie games fan. And she loved playing State of Decay on the Xbox 360 when it came out. And when they mentioned No Man's Sky, the talk host was like, let's not talk about that ever again. It was hilarious. Yes, never again will I ever buy into the hype. I literally bought into the hype of No Man's Sky. That's what made it so bad. I literally spent the $60 to get that game, because everything that they were selling and everything that they were displaying, I actually thought that, hey, it was something you could do. And the dude was, and then I started seeing this guy saying, this dude was literally questioned, what can you do in this game? And literally almost every single question, almost literally every single question that the guy was asked, he said no to. Is it multiplayer? No. Can you blow up a planet? No. Can you meet up with a person in space? No. Can you do this? No. Can you do that? No. Is it multiplayer? Yeah, I think I already said multiplayer already, but there were so many wrong things, but I just wanted to believe that maybe this game will be good. Maybe this game would actually live up to the hype that we're seeing. Like, oh, this is so cool. You get to fly out in space, literally traverse across entire universes. Yes, EGK, false advertising. You could go across the entire universe, go to different galaxies, land on planets, mine, turn it into fuel, fly to another planet, mine, turn it into fuel, go to another planet, mine, turn it into fuel, go to another planet, mine, turn it into fuel, go to another planet, mine. Just literally the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And there's good monotony in games, and there's incredibly repetitive bad monotony. When the only way you can get into the universe is for you to do the same. Do you know what they call doing this? Have I ever told you about the definition of insanity? Like, literally doing the same thing over and over and over. I'm surprised people haven't gone crazy. And I literally took the game back. Well, I couldn't take it back for a refund because I kept it longer than 30 days. But I traded it in and put it towards Neo. Worthy game to put money towards. I put it towards Neo. I have not regretted that decision since. But yeah, that's sort of, yeah, you're right. Call of Duty does the same thing every single year. They just add more exosuits to their characters with each progressive game up until now with World at War. But I got rid of No Man's Sky because no amount of updates will save the backlash that game had when everyone just discovered just how bad it really was. Yeah, Call of Duty, Call of Duty games are pretty good. Some not so much. Call of Duty like Big Red 1 and Call of Duty for the PS2. If you just return it for $60, if you don't like it in a few days, I'm gonna do that for the rest of games now. Yes, here's the thing. I didn't. I kept it longer for 30 days, so I couldn't get a refund on it because I was like, "Wow, this is cool," and it's just. Yeah, some Call of Duty games are good, some aren't, but they tend to do the same thing every year. They just try and get more and more futuristic with every single game that they have. Up until now, yeah, to each his own, EGK. I don't play Call of Duty all that much. I mean, I got Advanced Warfare and Black Ops 3, but Black Ops 3 is really a game that me and my dad play on occasion. We haven't done so lately. And I mean, I just picked it up today after almost a year of not playing it at all. But I played Black Ops 3, but that was pretty much the only the only Call of Duty game I have. I seen Infinite Warfare, and I was like, no, that's where I'm stopping. I'm stopping right there at no more futuristic. No more futuristic settings for a Call of Duty game. Call of Duty game didn't start in 2025 with walking tanks and flying drones and magnet gloves and being able to hover in midair. No, they started out with the M1 Garand. They started out with trench guns. They started out with grenades and fighting the Germans and fighting whoever it was in World War II, Cold War, World War One, yeah, all that. That's where I started playing Call of Duty at. So I'm gonna reserve my opinions for Call of Duty World War II when we see more. That's me personally. So I'm not gonna do anything more with that. But we got God of War. Now, God of War looks good. We've seen a little bit more story along with him and his son. Yeah, every single year they release a Call of Duty, it's like, what more can you do? You've gone into space now. You can't go further than that unless you start introducing aliens. And then when you do that, it's not Call of Duty anymore. It's a first-person Mass Effect. And we've seen what happened with the last Mass Effect game, which I have yet to play. And I don't know if I'm ever going to play it because of just what happened to it. It was just so bad. I mean, they could have spent more time working out the kinks for Mass Effect Andromeda. But that's a story for another time. Another game, Lego Marvel Superheroes 2. Yes. Anthem. Now here's the thing. I thought Anthem was like an Xbox exclusive game. No, it's coming out for all systems. PS4, Xbox, and Windows PC. Anthem looks awesome. It looks like someone said this in the comments before during one of the streams. It looks like Destiny mixed with Titanfall, mixed with Destiny mixed with Titanfall with an open world of Horizon Zero Dawn, but an incredibly huge open world. Like, when you see that lady jump off that building and go straight to the ground, that's a big map. And I just like, and it has like a loot system as well. So when you're out there finding new guns and everything, you can find like super rare guns and everything. And then you got fast exosuits where that allows you to fly, or you got the tanky exosuit that just lets you drop in like straight up Hulkbuster style. And then I clearly saw like one that disappeared, that one that could cloak itself during that little gameplay display, though they didn't give it a name. I clearly saw one, and it was floating too. Like before they flew into that vortex at the end of that demo, you could clearly see it just floating above everybody else with like this little hood, tattered cloak it had on. I want to know what that frame, I want to know, and I'm thinking Warframe. I want to know what the exosuit was. It might be a great game, but I wouldn't be hyped if the world is that big. Look at No Man's Sky. Yeah, here's the thing. No Man's Sky had put forth the ambition of having an entire galaxy. Well, not entire galaxy, but an entire universe you could fly to. An entirely boring universe There was never anything there. The portals that you found on planets, they didn't even do anything. To this day, does anyone even know what they do? At all. Like the little monoliths. I mean, technically they weren't lying. No, they weren't. They weren't, technically. But gameplay mechanically, it left a lot to be desired. And I'm going to get off of No Man's Sky because I could literally make another hour's worth of video talking about how that game was. How it built up my hopes and how it had me filled with so much hopes of being able to fly around in space. Never have I found flying around in space to be so boring. After watching Star Wars and Star Trek and looking at practically every other... Let's move on. But Anthem looks good. I wonder if you can upgrade your suit. That would actually be cool. One thing that gets me about that open world is, as detailed as it is, oh snap, Aphelion replied to me. Nice. But Aphelion reacts. But as detailed as it is, I'm sort of hoping that it doesn't bog down the system as far as slowdown and everything, because Just Cause 3, it suffers from that. And it has even less details than the Anthem game did. Because I played through Just Cause, I want to say earlier this morning, and there was a whole bunch of explosions going on. The game literally slowed down to a crawl because there was so much happening that the game couldn't keep up with it. I have less slowdowns playing Skyrim with mods on my console. So, and Just Cause is known for having multiple giant islands that you can explore, literally even whole countries that you can explore on with levels of detail in it. But that slowdown, it just puts me off from the game. Yeah, a lot of frame rate issues in Just Cause 3. I mean, I love the fact that it's like a Michael Bay's Wet Dream type game, but it's just the slowdown that happens when explosions are going on. It sort of detracts from the action because now you gotta wait for those explosions to stop, everything to just stop moving in order for the game to catch back up to you. So that was just a little bit much. But Anthem is on my list for games to look out for. God of War, obviously, for obvious reasons. I mean, it's God of War. Spider-Man, PS4. Lego Marvel Superheroes. There's more gameplay that I haven't seen. I'm actually going to watch that. I can't really just want games with good story, with mechanics that's so hard to ask for nowadays. It really is, because people think that some developers just want to give you one or the other. And they want to give you great gameplay, but they leave you with barely minimal story at all. So you're just thinking, well, the gameplay is good, but what is the story even about? Looking at you, Destiny. I mean, yeah, you got a whole bunch of gameplay. Like seriously, Destiny is a good example for that. They give you so much gameplay to use and so much going on, but they don't give you any story. Like, even the DLC, like, Rise of, the Taken King and something Oryx of the Darkness. The first two DLCs for Destiny, they actually had some story linked to it, but nothing to actually add on to the story that was actually going on with the original Destiny game. So, and I don't know about Rise of Iron because I haven't bought that add-on. But yeah, some developers they just focus on either gameplay or they just focus on story. Now, some games are actually able to have story and gameplay. Last of Us, I thought, had a good story. It had a good narrative. It had a good character relationship between Joel and Ellie. I said Eddie. Joel and Ellie, they had like a good, like, they started out rocky, and you just see their relationship blossom into like two people who are just acquaintances into like a genuine father and daughter type relationship. And plus they had good gameplay mechanics there. Like, you just had to learn how to, it wasn't just like, hey, It's not like games today where you can take multiple gunshots to the head. Your character can take multiple gunshot wounds, and they barely react at all. No, in Last of Us, if you got shot in the chest, no, you felt that, and you got pushed and knocked back because, well, you got shot in the chest. So that was another thing. While it's 11 o'clock, and I'm usually not up this late making videos, I really hope I'm not disturbing any family members right now. But I'm about to bring this to a close because I don't want to keep you guys too long. I might do this more often, live streams like this, where I just talk to you guys about things. This seems like something I like doing. This seems like something that I could see myself doing. And like, do you guys mind at all? Like just me doing regular streams like this, like where I just basically just talk about anything, like from games to movies. I still need to talk about Wonder Woman. That movie was good, but that's going to be a subject for another time. But I'm going to actually look at the Lego Marvel Superheroes video that's up as well. And there's multiple videos as well for games that they've showcased, but they haven't seen the entire they haven't shown the entire gameplay of it. So I want to see the gameplay of Lego Marvel Superheroes 2 because like I got all of the Lego Marvel games, like Lego Batman 3, Jurassic World, Avengers, Superheroes, and Star Wars. I don't have Undercover, but yeah, but I don't watch YouTubers anymore. Gotta be doing something. Don't watch YouTubers much anymore. Gotta be doing something else. Yeah, I hear you. This isn't something I see doing all the time. This is just something like an occasional thing because YouTube is not is not what I mainly do with my life. It's just something I do on the side from time to time when I'm not doing gaming series. So I'm just spitballing here, just ideas that I might do in the future. I might not do it. I might just do what I normally do now. Just do movie reviews or maybe manga reviews and just little tidbits here and there. But yeah, I understand completely what you're saying. It's just that, yeah, every YouTuber's trying to do like the same old thing, and it's just like it sort of gets monotonous seeing everyone do the same thing. Attack on Titan though, yes. I have not read the latest chapter. Like I literally spent before my family and I went on vacation, like we just got back yesterday. Before my family went on vacation, I spent at least 2.5 days reading from chapters, I want to say 25 all the way up until the latest chapter. And it went all the way up to, I want to say chapter 90, I want to say 80 or 90 something. It took me a long time, so much information that I'm still processing over these revelations of things that have happened. And don't worry, I am not going to spoil it for you. I do not roll that way. But you'd be surprised if you ever read the manga. There is so much going on, but I actually have to catch up on the anime as well because the last I seen is, well, I actually don't want to spoil it for those that haven't seen all the way up until that point in the anime, so I probably won't say it. But I want to catch up on episode, I think it's episode 10, episode 11, the most recent one that came out. Plus, I need to see if there's a new episode of Steven Universe. I looked at that as well. That's actually getting pretty interesting as well. But yeah, I'm gonna look at Lego Marvel Superheroes and maybe some of that Crackdown 3 gameplay just to see if they've improved. I hope they got rid of that announcer guy. He got extremely annoying to listen to all the time. Like, stop killing people, Agent. Hey, now your agility has improved, Agent. You can now jump over 12 feet. And Sonic Forces, I'll look at it, but it's not something that's on my radar. But, Plus, I want to play some Dark Souls 3 before I go to bed tonight. At least get my character just a little bit leveled up, just a little bit. But that's just something that I'm doing. So I hope I haven't been boring you guys. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Sony press conference, and then it got turned into something else. It just became a relaxation stream for me. But hope you all enjoyed yourselves. This is where I'm signing out, and I will see you all in the next stream or video. So as always, later peoples, and have a good night, because I'm thirsty and I'm about to go get something to drink. Later peoples.